But basically, this is Fiveable. I am going to share my screen. And this session, I'll do it in about 40 minutes. So I'm going to help you guys with passing your exams. So if you've got questions, you can put them in the question spot on the bottom. And if you can help answer each other's questions there too. So let's see, I just need to, all right. AP Human Geo. Hang on a second, y'all. Okay. All right. So we're going to get there. We're figuring this out. So let me just share my screen on the slides that I'm going to show you guys, because we're going to talk about Unit 1. So let's see. Okay, now I should be back, and I'm not going to touch anything. I'm going to try to keep this on exactly what we need, and I'm going to get to the point, okay? So I know you guys are here to learn everything you need to know about Unit 1 because you've got exams coming up. So put any questions that you have specific to AP Human Geo in the questions tab. I'm going to look at those towards the end, and then I'll also do a Kahoot at the end for those of you that are willing to stick around for that, so as just a little reward. So just really quick, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Amanda Doamaral. I teach AP World and AP Human Geography, and I am also the founder of Fiveable. So this is called Fiveable. This is where we do AP reviews. And really our goal is to help you guys pass your exams because it's so worth it to save that money in college. So I'm going to skip ahead, skip all of these. All right, so I'm going to go over basically a lot of the different words. The Unit 1 is really about Unit 1 is really focused on just like intro, like what do you need to know about geography? How do geographers think? How do they study things? How do they look at ideas? You know, it's not all just like straight up maps, but it is like how to understand and interpret and analyze maps. And so next week, I'm going to be doing population distribution. And then after that, population with growth and decline, and then we're going to be talking about migration. So I'm really following along with where you guys should be in class. If you are studying Unit 1, I definitely recommend taking notes. You can always go back and rewatch this, but it's easier if you just, you know, focus on that. So first thing I just want to like mention really quick, if you haven't started kind of just studying a map to know the regions, it's something that you really should do. On the exam, you know, they're not going to ask you to put like, where is Brazil, where is China, but you really do need to know the regions of the world. And so in this case, this is like talking about the bigger world regions, which is basically just like the continents, and then sometimes like north and south. But you definitely need to know your continents. And then also when you get like deeper into the actual regions, this is something you should start studying. So knowing, you know, as you can see, this map is really just, it's mostly just like the different regions with like north, south, east, west. And so this map is really important for you to know because these regions are going to be used on the exam. You know, they'll use things like West Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and you need to be able to know where that is. So just make sure that you know that for sure. All right, so let's get into some discussion about some of the concepts you need to know in this time period. So like I said, Unit 1 is all about how do you study geography. So I'm going to go through a lot of the terms that you need to know, some of the different map types that you have to know, and then we're going to play a Kahoot and see what you learned. All right, so in terms of one of the concepts of geography, one of the ways that geographers study space is through scale. You have to know what scale you want to look at, right? Like I live in Portland, Maine. And so this scale would be specifically for Portland, Maine, right? I'm kind of zoomed in on the city, but I can zoom out and I can look at all of New England, right? And each of those different scales give you completely different information, right? So if you're looking at just like a city, then you might need to look at specifically, you know, that's why she isn't working. You might want to look at streets or, you know, like like more specifics about where things are within a city. And then when you zoom out, you can see something more, right? You're seeing a different scale, a different idea of what is there. And so in this scale, I'm zoomed out. I can actually see the region that I'm in. This is all of New England and some, really a lot of like the Northeast. I can zoom out even more and see the entire country, right? And you can even see a little dot of where I'm placed. And this whole country is going to give me a separate sense of like what exactly I'm looking at, but it is new information, right? Like, if I see the whole country, I can learn more about, where this country is in relation to other countries, or what the like coastlines look like, or anything like that. But I'm not going to see like the streets that I need to get to go to, Dunkin' Donuts or something. I can zoom out even more, right? I can see the whole Earth, and like that will give me all kinds of information, but not some of the other information that the other pieces will get. So it's really important to understand scale and understand that that is one thing that changes based on what map you're looking at, because any map that you see has a scale involved, right? It's somewhere. And so you kind of have to understand the difference between that. So another piece that is really important is location. So in terms of location, you can know two types of location. You can know the absolute location. That would literally be latitude and longitude. I'm going to talk a little bit about latitude and longitude in a second. But absolute location is like exactly where you are on your on the map, right? It's giving me the precise location. If you plug this in, if you Google, your own absolute location, you can find your latitude and longitude, and nowhere else can have that. This is really useful to find exactly where something is. But if I just told you that I'm at 43 degrees north and 70 degrees west, you wouldn't necessarily know where that is, right? Like people don't have that kind of stuff memorized. So latitude and longitude is something that you should have learned a little bit before, but it's you gotta make sure you're clear on. You got to make sure you're clear on what latitude is and what longitude is. So latitude is the one that's horizontal, right? Like lat is fat. That's how I remember it. So that's the one that's horizontal. Latitude is like natural. So you've got the equator, which is half of the Earth, that's 0 degrees. And then every line up from there is we can count however many degrees we want. And so you've got all of latitude lines, and that will tell you where you are based on your location in relation to the equator. Longitude is the long lines, right? These are the vertical lines. Longitude is totally something that we've made up, right? We've just decided where 0 degrees is, and that is in Greenwich, England. But like the equator, we didn't decide where that is. That is natural. So using latitude and longitude is important to really know your exact location. The other type of location is relative. So you can give a relative location of where you are. So maybe in the chat, if you guys could tell me your relative location, and you can choose anything that you are close to, right? So like I am 112 miles north of Boston. So that's my relative location. Could you find exactly where I am based on that? Not entirely, but you can get pretty close. So if you know of something that is close to you, you're north of something, you're south of something, you're, X miles away, 5 miles away from McDonald's, right? Southeast of the Wellington Green Mall. Perfect, right? These are all perfect. So you know where you are in relation to something else. In order to find you, I have to know where that other thing is, right? 120 miles east of San Diego. That's good. I have to know where San Diego is, but I could then find you. So this is where you have to describe it in relation to something else. So that's the difference between relative and absolute. And you could totally see like multiple choice questions on the exam asking about these things. Okay, so another way that geographers study geography is through space. And by space, it's not like outer space. It's like site and situation, right? You're looking at, all area is space, and how it is organized is based on either natural phenomena or what we've built and where we've built it, where people are doing things. And so you can have site. Site is just literally where you are, where something is located on, right? So Portland, Maine is right on the coast. So this is the site of Portland. And it defines Portland in a lot of ways because of that, right? People come here for, you know, what is it called? Like seafood or things, because we're on the coast. The other way that you can define yourself is situation. Like, where is it situated in relation to other things, right? So if it's, our situation would be like in New England, right? Like it's a part of New England. It's also close to Canada. Like it's not that far away. So people come through, you know, and that's something that defines this area. You can describe it in other ways. And so site and situation are two of those ways. Okay. So then you've got things like toponym. Okay, toponym is just another word to know the place name, right? So the place that I'm in is called Portland. So like, what's the toponym of where you live? It's like the name of the city, right? That would be like, type it in the chat. Type in the toponym of where you live. Beautiful, right? So we've got a lot of Wellingtons here, Brawley, Jupiter. Maybe it's actual Jupiter, I don't know. Yeah, so all of those are that's your toponym, right? That's the name of your place. And you can learn a lot about places because of that, because you can see, you know, like the history of a place within that. You know, you can see influences of culture or of lived there. Name that place. It's named after something. So, all right, let's keep going. Another word that you need to know is this, like the idea of space-time compression. And so basically what this means is that over time, things get almost like, it's like we're closer together, right? So the amount of time that it took to travel around the world in 1500 was a long time. The amount of time that it took to travel around the world in 1850 was less time than then, right? The amount of time it took you to the amount of time it takes you to travel around the world today is way less time than it used to. So over time, we have essentially compressed how much time it takes to get from place to place. And that is something that the geographers study, is how long it takes. Because that affects things. It affects things like migration, for example, right? We're gonna have more migrations, the easier it is to travel. All right. So distance decay, I'm kind of just going through a lot of terms here, and then we're gonna play this Kahoot game. I think that will help you out a little bit. This unit is just, it feels all over the place because it's just kind of introductory, and it's just like a lot of terms, you know? And honestly, all of human geography is just like a lot of terms. But for this specifically, this would be, you know, I'm just kind of cutting through a bunch of terms. I'm about to show you a lot of different maps in a second. So distance decay is basically the distance between something changes how like popular it becomes, right? So it's essentially like, if you look at this graph, it's just showing convenience stores, grocery stores, superstores. You're more likely, you're not going to travel very far to go to a convenience store. You are going to go to the closest one to you. And so at a certain point, I hope I'm not frozen again. At a certain point, you know, let's say there's a convenience store 2 miles from your house and one 4 miles from your house. You're going to use the one that's 2 miles from your house. So distance decay is about how far something is versus how many people are using it and where people use it, right? So at a certain point, people, exactly, the further you are from a place, the less likely you are to go, except for places that are super rare, right? Like there may not be that many of them, but for the most part, it's, you know, you're less likely to go too far away. People want things to be easy. All right, let's look at types of maps, because I know that this is a big piece here. Types of projections first, and then the different types of maps. And you've got to be able to know just like what these are. Like I said, this unit is just a lot of terms and a lot of memorization. So if you've got a test coming up, honestly, the best thing that you can do is just memorize these terms. I would recommend like getting Quizlet, you know, get it on your phone and put it, you know, there are people have already made Unit 1 reviews on Quizlet, or you can make them on your own and just go through them and just start memorizing them, because this is just like foundation stuff, but it comes back, you know? So, all right, yeah, so if you don't know any terms, like that's where you should focus for this class, is just like memorize the terms, because you can pass this exam just by memorizing terms. So this first one, I'm just gonna kind of cut through the projections. This is the goods home line projection. It's like equal area. So the thing about projections is that every map is distorted, and that's an issue, right? Like no map is exactly correct. You've got every type of map is distorting something. So this one is specifically distorting shape, right? Like this is not necessarily what all the continents look like. It's the shape is not exactly right. But this one breaks up the globe into the equal continents. It's trying to space out the distortion equally so that at least it's trying to keep like the size and the amount of area intact, but the shape is distorted. So that's one type of projection. All right, another one we've got is, so for those of you asking how long does this last, this will only, I'm gonna start the Kahoot in probably like 10 minutes, okay? And hopefully it's not frozen. And if it's frozen for you, then I would say to try refreshing. So, all right, Mercator Projection. The Mercator Projection is like one of the most common types, and this is distorted by shape and size, right? So this is exaggerating landforms, and it's showing, it's distorting the size. It's trying to, it's easier to like travel like by sea using a map like this, but it's distorting the actual sizes of the continents, right? So for example, if you look at Greenland on the top here, let me just go down. If you look at Greenland right here, Greenland looks massive on this map. It looks almost the same size as Africa below it. But Greenland and Africa are nowhere near the actual same sizes. And so it really distorts it, you know, the top and the bottom especially. It's like stretching it. And so that's the problem here with Mercator. And this is a common one though. All right, someone had said this one before, azimuthal. It's tough. So this one is showing you land from like different perspectives on the globe. It is going to distort distance and shape, right? Because you're looking at it from like the top. And so you can't really tell distance as much there, and you can't really tell the shapes entirely. It's distorted quite a bit. Okay, on this one, this is called the Lambert Conic projection. And this one is distorting direction, but maintains accurate distance. And so for all of you guys that are here as a like reward for you for sticking around, I'm going to email you all the slides for this. Okay, so stick around, pay attention to all the things we're kind of going through. All these things are kind of fair game for coming up on an exam. So I will share with you these slides. So why would someone use the Lambert Conic projection? This is going to distort direction, but it maintains accurate distance, right? So it makes it easier to use that. All these projections are used for different reasons, and it kind of depends on, you know, I don't know, like what you need for. The way I'm going to share it with you is through your email. So the email that you use to register for this, I will email you the slides. All right, so we got two more projections. The moleweed projection, this one is combining some of the other versions. It's still distorted, right? You still have distortions on the angles and the shapes, just in terms of like where things are, but it's kind of, it's trying to show it in a little bit more like flat. So the last one is this Robinson projection. This is like, this one probably has the least amount of distortions, like the least amount of like dramatic distortions, right? Like look at the size difference. Like remember the last one we saw? You've got Greenland up here that looks like the size of Greenland. And then you've got Africa that looks like the size of Africa. And there is distortions in everything. It's distorted in size and shape and distance, but it's better than the other ones. So this is your Robinson projection. All right, let's talk about other types of maps. So there are so many different ways that you can see that we can just like organize information on a map. So in this type of map, this is called a flow line map. You'll see this one a lot of times with migration. This is like, you know, you can see like arrows of just kind of where people are going. So this is a good one to use if you are trying to track like movement of people. This is flow line migration. All right, Choropleth. This one you see a lot on, you know, if you look up like like top 50 maps that you've never seen before kind of thing. Essentially what it's doing is it assigns different colors or different symbols to different pieces of information. And then it allows you to like see things like based on that, right? So it's not just showing you a map of the United States. This is showing you, what is it showing you? Pop, who in the country says pop, soda, or Coke, right? Of soft drinks. And so the red is, guessing red is Coke, the brown is soda, the blue is pop. So like, what do you say? So if you're talking about, you know, a soda, what do you call it? Do you call it pop, soda, or Coke? Yeah, there you go. So a lot of you guys call it soda. A few call it, one calls it diabetes. That's funny. Bubbly. Yeah, so, right. So like people in the South call it Coke, most likely because the like Coca-Cola factories are in the South. And so it just kind of gets called, everything gets called Coke. People anywhere in the like in New England, right in the middle of like near St. Louis and on the West Coast, they call it soda. And then all the top, the blue is all calling it pop, right? That's big in like the Midwest. Voting maps don't quite fall on this one. They can. So a voting map could look like this. It could show you, it could show you like just red and blue, and it could show you like a county version of like who in you know, which county voted for, you know, Democrat or which county voted Republican. Then it could show you red versus blue. This is Choropleth. This one is oftentimes used primarily for political purposes. This is showing you, just kind of like I said, like it's showing you red versus blue and the states, but it's also showing you another piece of information. It's showing you how big each state is, how many like electoral votes each state is actually worth, right? So you can see that like Oregon, for example, is now like smushed. So Oregon went blue in 2016, but it's not worth as many electoral votes as California or as New York, right? Or you can see Florida and Texas are much bigger, but you know, the Dakotas are tiny. So this is showing you a couple of different pieces of information. It's showing you the United States, it's showing you who voted for what, and it's showing you how those things are related to each other. So this is Cartogram. Yes, I can see the chat. I'm trying not to look at it because it like confuses me when I look over there, and there's just so many things. All right, so small scale and large scale map, these can get confusing because they're kind of the opposite of what they're called. So a small scale map shows a large area of land. So that it literally means like the scale on the map is like small, right? So it might be like, it's just small, like you're zoomed out. Whereas a large scale map, you're zoomed in, right? This is showing a small area of land. So just kind of like I told you, this is all about memorizing, right? So if you can just memorize large scale map is a small area, small scale map is a large area. It's just kind of opposite. All right, let's keep going. Other types of map. Okay, so you've got physical map, right? So a physical map is going to show you geographic features, landforms, right? It's going to show you mountains and where like flat areas are. A political map is specifically showing you boundaries. It's showing you states. It's showing you countries, right? So this is not showing you where the Rocky Mountains are, but it's showing you where Colorado is. All of these are thematic maps, right? So instead of just using like projections, you can use, all of these are thematic. These are different types of thematic maps. Okay, this one is called proportional symbol map. Yeah, so look, we're just about ready for the Kahoot. So proportional symbol map is, it's showing you two pieces of information again. So this map is specifically showing you the percentage of the population as a percent of the total population. So for example, the one on California, the blue is like non-Hispanic and the red is Hispanic. So you can see based on this, it's not just showing you like how many like Hispanic people live in each state. It's showing you as it relates to the population of the state, how many are there. So you can see that in California and Texas, it's a fairly large percentage of the population there. So it changes, and it's showing you that based on like the size of the like size of the little pie chart, right? So like the bigger the pie chart, the more Hispanic population there is. And so that's just kind of like an interesting, I don't know, it's a way to look at a couple different pieces of information. This one is one of my favorite ones because this one can show you so much information in a small amount of time. So this one is called a dot distribution map. This is actually a map of the Bay Area. This right here is like the San Francisco Peninsula. This is Oakland. Up here is Berkeley. And so you can see this is, you're not looking at this to look at the physical or political lines. So it's not going to show you the lines of the city. What it is showing you is the race distribution within the Bay Area. So on this, you've got all the red dots are referring to white populations, blue dots are referring to Black, green is Asian, orange is Latino. And so when you look at this, you can actually see these like clusters, right? You can see that these neighborhoods are fairly segregated in a lot of places, and then in some places are not. And so, this whole section right here is West Oakland. West Oakland is predominantly Black. This whole section right here is like Fruitvale and more of like East Oakland, and this is orange. This is predominantly Latino. So you can kind of see just like a difference in terms of, like where people live, but also a different piece of information based on that. So this is just dot distribution. All right, this one is called Isoline. This is mostly used for climate. So, when you see this one, you should think of like the Weather Channel, right? When you can see different like zones of temperature, because it's showing you that like there's some temperatures that are, warm, and some temperatures it's getting cooler as you go. So that's Isoline. And then the last type of map here is topographic. Topographic maps you really only use also for, it's showing elevation. So this is a really good map to measure, a mountain and just like how big the elevation is. All right, y'all. So one last thing to define before we jump into this Kahoot is regions. There's 3 types of regions. And so what do we talk about when we say the word region? It's basically an area that's defined by one or more characteristics. So, there's something about it that is defining it. It could be a formal region. That would be a state or a country, right? So the region that I'm in Maine, I'm in, New England. It's easily defined. You know where it starts and where it ends. There isn't like too much, there could be conflict over those boundaries, but at least we know where that boundary is. Another one is functional. This is like some kind of central node. Something is functioning to keep us in that region. And so this could be like subway systems. This could be newspaper distributions, radio stations, anything like that. Things that are, connecting people in terms of like how far you are to that thing, right? Like radio stations, like the further away you get from a radio station, the less it works. So you start to listen to a different one, right? You change the radio stations in terms of where you are. Those are functional. You're not going to find a line of where that stops. It's just like where I can stop hearing that radio. And the last one is a perception / like vernacular region. And this is basically like you live in a place that like it's part of your cultural identity. You definitely can't define where that line actually is. And there isn't really too much, like physically creating these. And so, for example, like the South, right? Like what defines the South as the South is debatable. And so in this case, it is, it's vernacular. Okay, so I think we're ready for the Kahoot. What do you think? All right, this is gonna be rather quick. So I'm gonna we're gonna play this Kahoot now. Hopefully this all works. All right, classic. Ready to join. Boom. You can even hear the music. All right, so you can join now on the Kahoot. I'm gonna leave this up for the next 2 minutes. So you gotta be joined within 2 minutes, and then we'll play. And this is all based on things that we just talked about. Yeah, there's definitely more of you guys in here. Let's look at the questions. I'm going to delete some of these can't see or hear you ones. Delete. Yeah, you know, there's going to be some lag, but what are you going to do? Let's see. All right. All right, I'm about to hit start. Last call. And let's go. You know what I didn't do is call it this name. What are you gonna do? Yeah, I'm sure the lag is gonna be there. It is what it is. Cartogram. So cartogram is exactly what it is. Good job. So for those of you that got this wrong, you should write down that word cartogram as something that you should make sure you know how to define. All right. Which one does Google use? What is this one? All right, time is up. Mercator, good job. Okay, so Mercator is the most popular one that's used in places. Robinson is like the best type of map. So, you know, make sure you know the difference between those two. All right, we got a new first place. General name for any place is known as a boom. Good job. You guys killed that one. We spent some time on Toponym. Good. What would be considered a cultural landscape? We didn't talk about this. You want me to read the choices aloud? Lakeshore, rainforest, Mayan ruins, meadow. I don't know if that was useful at all. Nice, good job. So the way that you should have known this was cultural landscape is because this is based on like the people who live there, not the like natural, you know, geography. The rest of it is natural. Terms. Nice. Absolute location. Absolute distance would show you like exactly how far something is between each other. But using longitude and latitude wouldn't talk about distance, just location. All right, what type of map is this? Not too much. Not too much lag. That's not bad. Too much time though. Ooh, okay, so it looks like we got confused. So remember, dot map is the one with like all the little dots are showing you the data. Proportional symbol is based on like the symbol will change in shape or in size based on like how much data is showing you. All right, so proportion or dots was the, like the race one that I showed you of like who lives where. Proportional symbol was the percentage of Hispanic people who live there. All right, still got a first place. Which type of map is this one? This is an old one. Five seconds. Boom, good job. So don't get confused between cartogram is gonna end up distorting like the size of something based on how many like electoral votes it is. Choropleth is just like using colors to show different data. All right, compared to a map of the state of Texas, the map below of El Paso would be a good job. Yep, so remember, larger scale is showing like a smaller space, right? So that zoomed in is a larger scale map. All right, new first place. Seriously, 9 of 21. I know. Closer an item is, it diffuses more rapidly than things that are further apart. This concept is, I don't know what this don't click me one is. Actually, I didn't talk about this tonight. I'm going to talk all about the cultural diffusion pieces when I talk about culture in a few weeks. So this is distance decay. Good job. All right, Miles, you're back in first place. The image below is of a... What is this projection? Boom, nailed it. New first place. What map is this? Nice. Right, so topographic is any map that is showing elevation. New first place. And scene. Okay, this is the site of the Kenwood Mall. It's talking about where it is located, not what's near it. You know, we actually didn't talk about this one. You can leave at this point. You can leave whenever you want. All this stuff is just for your help. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Yeah, this is actually globalization. We're going to talk a lot about globalization this year, just in like how it affects so many different things. I didn't talk about it tonight, though. Someone actually asked me what this was a question in the questions, and I didn't quite answer it yet, so this is perfect. I do not personally know Ms. Stout, but I know that she is giving you guys extra credit, and so that's awesome. Boom, good job. So this is environmental determinism. That's like also something we'll talk a little bit more about later. All right, 6 questions left, y'all. Nice. Good. So GIS is all that layering, and GPS is more about your position. New first place. Good. This is functional, right? So this is not formal because this is not showing you the specific, you know, like city. It's showing you where you are, how many McDonald's there are based on in relation to the city, though. All right, Jacqueline's back in first place. 5 more questions. Killed it, y'all. All right, what type of region is this? Nice. So yes, this is Australia, but which type of region is this? This is a formal region, right? So it's not, it's showing you the specific like provinces of Australia, the states. What kind of map is this? Very cool map, showing you like population in relation to all the other places. Nice. 2 more questions. Gotta go quick. South America was tiny in the last one because it has a small population in relation to the rest of the world. Isoline is the one with like a like climate. It shows you like the lines of temperature. All right, which type of map is this? This is showing you for every dot is 1,000 people. So there's a lot of Australia that is not very, not a lot of people live there. Yeah, so dot map. All right, last one. This one's easy. The science of map making. What is it called? All right, so I'm going to be emailing out these slides. Just going to wrap it up here. Boom. Good job. All right. Tate, first place. Nice. Wow, Jacqueline, you got only one wrong. Good job. Okay, so I'm just gonna click out of this. So listen, if you have any questions about Unit 1, pop them in below, ask a question. I'm gonna end this stream, but I'm gonna come back in a little while and answer any of the questions that I didn't get to, because I know that I lost about 10 minutes because of technology. So if there's any questions that you still are like, I don't know the answer to this, and I really need some help for Unit 1, just pop it in the question below, and I'll come back and answer them. Next Sunday, I'm going to be live again at 7 p.m. You can access that at //crowdcast.io/thinkfiveable. Okay, so you can get to next week's session just like that. You can. I'm also going to be putting up a bunch of new videos for human geography on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thinkfiveable. On the YouTube channel, I'm going to be making a lot of short videos to kind of explain quick terms, because I know this is a lot of terms. And so on the YouTube channel, if you hit subscribe, then you're going to get notified when I post those videos. So I'm going to be posting a bunch this week, and then keep going from there. So I'll have like the top 100 words or so that you need to know for human geography. So next week is population. The week after that is also population, and then migration. So good luck on your Unit 1 exam. You can subscribe to Fiveable. It's youtube.com/thinkfiveable. You can subscribe in the on Crowdcast as well. If you just kind of go up top and click follow, then you'll also know when we'll have more sessions. So until next week, I will see y'all later. Peace.